World War II had ended, the guns fell silent, cities lay in ruins, and the world hoped for peace. But that peace didn't last, because just beneath the surface, a new war was brewing. A war not fought with tanks and soldiers, but with ideas, spies, and nuclear threats. This is the story of how two former allies, the United States and the Soviet Union, became bitter enemies in what would be called the Cold War. The Cold War wasn't a traditional war. There were no major battles between the US and USSR, no invasions, no declarations. Instead, it was a global standoff. Two superpowers, two ideologies, locked in a tense struggle for influence and survival, democracy and capitalism versus communism and state control. It was a war of pressure, propaganda, and power, where the entire world was caught in the middle. The United States believed in free markets, open elections, and individual liberty. The Soviet Union, led by Joseph Stalin, promoted a single-party communist system where the government controlled nearly every aspect of life. Both sides believed their vision was the future of the world, and both feared what would happen if the other gained too much power. During World War II, the US and USSR had been uneasy allies. They had joined forces to defeat Nazi Germany, but once the common enemy was gone, the cracks in their alliance became impossible to ignore. At the Yalta and Potsdam conferences, leaders of the Allied powers tried to shape the post-war world, but tensions flared. Stalin demanded control over Eastern Europe, claiming it was necessary for Soviet security. The Western powers, especially the US under President Truman, grew increasingly suspicious of Soviet intentions, as the Soviets tightened their grip over Eastern Europe, occupying Poland, Hungary, Romania, and more. The West began to sound the alarm. In 1946, British Prime Minister Winston Churchill famously declared that an iron curtain has descended across the continent. Europe was split in two, East and West, and the Cold War had quietly begun. In 1947, President Truman announced what became known as the Truman Doctrine, a promise that the United States would support any nation resisting communism. This was the start of America's policy of containment, the idea that the spread of communism had to be stopped wherever it appeared. That same year, the US introduced the Marshall Plan, offering over $12 billion in aid to help rebuild war-torn European economies. It wasn't just about generosity, it was about preventing those countries from falling into communist hands. The Soviets saw this as an economic invasion and responded with their own Molotov plan for Eastern Europe. But tensions reached a boiling point when Stalin attempted to cut off West Berlin, a democratic enclave deep inside Soviet-controlled East Germany. He blocked all roads, railways, and canals, hoping to force the West out. Instead, the US and its allies launched the Berlin Airlift. For nearly a year, planes landed in Berlin every few minutes, delivering food, fuel, and supplies to keep the city alive. Stalin eventually backed down, but the message was clear. The West would not be bullied. By 1949, the world's divisions were official. The US and its allies formed NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, a military alliance built to stand against any Soviet threat. The USSR responded in 1955 with the Warsaw Pact, a similar alliance of communist nations. The globe was now split into two rival blocs, armed, alert, and suspicious. Then came the most terrifying development of all. In 1945, the United States had used atomic bombs to end World War II. But by 1949, the Soviet Union had its own bomb. What followed was an arms race, unlike anything the world had seen. Both superpowers building stockpiles of nuclear weapons capable of destroying the planet. School children practiced duck and cover drills. Families built fallout shelters. Fear was everywhere, yet neither side dared to strike first. And so, the Cold War settled in. A war of silence. A war of spies, speeches, and secret plans. A war where both sides believed they were fighting to save the world. From the ruins of World War II rose a new kind of conflict, one that would last for decades, spreading from Berlin to Korea, from Cuba to Vietnam, from Earth to space. This was only the beginning. Welcome to the Cold War.